welcome to another very special edition of the Grave Consequences podcast. I am Caleb B, and that is where you can follow me on Twitter. Please follow the show on Twitter at GC_cast. Also, hit us up, graveconsequencespodcast@gmail.com. Constructive criticism, feedback, even non-constructive criticism, everything but dick pics. We'll take everything but dick pics on that. And as always, I am joined by the one, the only, the man known as Maserati. So, Maz, how are you today on October 2nd, my man?
I'm actually doing all right. I'm actually partway through a 24-hour fast. It ends tomorrow morning, so I'm excited for that. So I'm a little miserable, but, working on that willpower.
So is it like a true fast? Or are you like allowed to have water? Or what do we got going on here?
Yeah, you got it. Even any kind of fast, you have to drink water or you'll die. If anyone ever recommends a fast, if anyone ever recommends a fast and says you can't drink water, never listen to them ever again.
Oh man, that's yeah.
They're trying to kill you.
Good piece of advice for sure. Trying to kill you, man. That is wild. Shout out my Braves winning their first playoff series since 2001 when I was 7 years old. I'm 26 now, so that's awesome, man. But we're not here to talk about baseball. We're not here to talk about Greg's eating habits or, anything else of the nature. We are here to talk about Lucha Underground. And tonight we are reviewing Season 1, Episode 6. Entitled The Key. Now that's a pretty simple title there for sure. So before we go over, point by point, what did you think of the episode in general?
Oh, we're starting off with that right away?
I mean, I don't want to go 1 to 10, but no, you know what? Let's hold off on that. Let's hold off on that. I tried to maverick and, change the format mid-show, and that's not a good idea, folks. So all things considered, first thing we see on the show is Big Ryck in the office of El Jefe Dario Cueto. He signs a contract, big contract, huge signing bonus too. And it is worth noting, Big Ryck says, I want my signing bonus in cash. That's worth noting for sure. Cueto says Cueto at one point adds that he signed Johnny Mundo basically to make an example of him. So that's a bit sadistic, as it were, to just sign like a big money guy, relatively big money guy, just to make an example out of him. What do you think about that, man?
I had questions about the signing bonus in cash because I'm thinking about it, and it's one that's more risky, so it seems stupid. And realistically, most criminals try to get their money laundered so that they can get it into the system. So this is one of those things where it's like a gimmick where someone's trying to be like a gangster or a criminal, but it's just too over the top where it's almost comic bookish or like rapper-esque, where it's like just it's not real. But I that's nitpicking on me, and that's just me asking too many questions while watching the episode. But it does lead to other things that happen down the line. So it's it's nothing wrong with opening with a story segment, a cinematic, especially. And this is one thing else I noticed: the cinematics. Like we talked about how it drops off in season 4. I didn't really notice it that much, but looking back at the first season, it's really high quality.
Yeah, absolutely. I would agree. You can tell they got their budget slashed for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're through that segment, then let's go to the temple. First thing we see is Ivelisse and Son of Havoc. The gist of this little promo here before this match is Ivelisse saying that Son of Havoc is not a joke. Yeah, Ivelisse says, he's fought women, he fought a half man. They said half man. And at one point, and I did note that Son of Havoc, mocked like he was crouched, mocking like he was Masquerita. And that got a chuckle out of me, man. And right after that, I noted that Ivelisse mentioned the 7-year contract. And we had heard about those, a couple of years down the line for negative reasons, as it were. But it was pretty interesting to hear them mention 7-year contracts because, as it turns out, that was a shoot.
And it's you pointed out to me that she said it, and I completely missed it in the promo. And it seems it seems like a long time to sign a contract, just in general for wrestling. Unless you're in WWE and you're getting that WWE money, that seems like a
Yeah.
long time.
Yeah. A 7-year contract for a show that has season breaks, that's not a good idea. And that will come back to bite them later on. Actually, including Evilise as well.
Especially
Oh, by
Evilise.
the way, yeah, especially Evilise. I did note that Evilise said, if we wanted to, be treated like jokes, we'd go live in Nashville. Hard shot at TNA. Not
Oh, is
even
that what she was
remotely
talking about?
subtle. Not even remotely subtle. Yeah.
Oh, okay. See, I was confused about that, and I forgot to write down the notes, and I meant to ask you about that. So that's what that was, because it was definitely, you could tell by the tone it was a shoot. I just didn't know who.
Yeah. And I like that Son of Havoc grabs the mic and says, I'm issuing an open challenge. Anyone out there face me man to man. Enter, of course. This is the man to man line. The Exotico, Pimpinela Escarlata. Pimpy was over the second that he walked into the building. Did you notice that?
I like him, or
Yeah.
her, or whatever we're supposed to
Oh,
refer to it.
it's a man. They
Okay.
use him, her, or he, him pronouns.
Okay. See, I forgot about that, but I've always liked Pimpinella because, it's an Exotica character or Exotico. Is it Exotico?
I use Exotico because again, he, him pronouns, but I could be wrong.
I'm pretty sure that's what Vampiro called him, but he's really good. And I even wrote that in my notes because he looks older. You can tell he's like probably in his 40s, and he's
Yeah.
doing some dives. He does one dive where he just lands on the floor from the turnbuckle, and he does some moderately. He's more athletic than Blue Demon Jr. I'll say that easily.
Yes. Yes. Although there was one thing, and I know it was planned, but like when Pimpy was prancing around and was a little, slow off the ropes and he falls, like that was like, oh my God, I hope that. Of course it was planned, but it just looked bad.
It did look. It was scary.
Oh, you know who was at his absolute worst during this match?
Was it Vampiro?
Matt Striker.
Ah,
Dude,
50-50.
he should not. Oh my God. Like, okay, first things first, he mentions, like, well, we've had a bevy of flamboyant male characters in wrestling, Gorgeous George, Adrian Adonis. And then he says, The Miz. I'm like, come on. You're not even. Damn it, Striker. What did The Miz do to you besides not get fired by WWE?
I missed that. I completely missed that shoot. What is his problem with Miz? Because Miz, I mean, like,
Other
I don't.
than,
I don't know.
Miz, like, I've seen, like, videos of Miz outside of, like, even outside of interviews. He seems a genuinely nice guy.
I just never heard of any beef. And when I grew up, like you remember MTV Road Rules? I think that's where he's
Yes.
from. He was originally on the
Yeah.
reality show where, yeah, he plays a douchebag, and he may even be a douchebag in real life. But it was really cool seeing a guy from a reality show, Road Rules, and he was on it for a while, a few different seasons, make it to WWE and not just be like he stuck around. Like a lot of people come from different disciplines and they don't stick around. But he's been there what, like 10 years now?
Yeah. No, he's been there about 15.
Oh, 15, yeah. I mean, that's incredible. He never should have been that successful, and he was. So it's kind of one of those things where you kind of I gotta stop using that word.
And what's funny, I'm sorry to interrupt. What's funny is Miz actually got better in the ring as well. Like his weakest point is in ring game. He got so much better, and he was good by the time Stryker was using this line in 2014.
Yeah, Miz got good. He's a fully capable. And people critique his wrestling, but he wrestles WWE style, and he does it well enough. Like people are always like, "Oh, he didn't catch this guy on a dive." Well, I don't know how big WWE naturally, like the core is all about dives. It's usually the indie guys that are doing the dives, but he's completely passable wrestler. And he's good at talking. I don't know how well his face run went when he was going against Shane, but I mean, he's a perfectly great heel. He deserved Intercontinental title. I don't know about the heavyweight title, but Intercontinental, absolutely, he was fine with that. Do you know of any beef he had with Stryker? Because
None to my knowledge. I know he had beef with JBL and Benoit and those guys, but Beyond that, no one comes to mind.
That's weird.
Oh, Del Rio also didn't like him.
Del Rio kind of has a history of not liking quite a few people, though.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, is it Miz or is it Del Rio for sure? So I guess enough about the Miz because this is a Lucha Underground show. The match starts, and I didn't write down a lot about this match in particular, but at one point it looks like Pimpy hurt his shoulder. Did you notice that?
Yeah, they even played into it, and I actually wrote down my notes if it was real, because the way his arm was hanging, like either he's really good at selling injuries, because if you've ever hurt your collarbone or hurt your rotator cuff, like his arm was hanging a little bit, and it looked like he was genuinely in pain. And I even wrote down, because I don't remember if it's coming up, but he some people miss great windows of time on the show, and I don't know if we don't see him for a while if this is a real injury or not.
Yeah, it's one of those. It definitely could be for sure. Oh, by the way, about halfway through the match, Masquerita runs in to make the save when the heels were trying to, 2-on-1 Pimpy. Oh, by the way, the finish comes when... one thing I tried to blast right over. Striker at his worst, again, says... Basically accuses Son of Havoc of bigotry.
He did? What did he say?
I can't remember exactly what he said. He's like, oh, but Son of Havoc probably didn't encounter a lot of Pimpinelas on the open road.
Oh, you know what? I do remember. Yeah, he was saying he came from Oklahoma, and he probably doesn't take too kindly to people like Pimpinela.
He did not say Oklahoma.
He didn't?
He didn't say Oklahoma.
For Son of Havoc?
Son of Havoc is not from Oklahoma, sir.
Oh, where is he from?
Oh, you're not joking?
No, he said some state, and I thought it was some not
it was probably
necessarily southern, but
okay. I know Matt Cross is from Shoot, Ohio, but where Son of Havoc is supposedly from. He's from the open road.
He said a state particularly, maybe it was Maine or something, but he was basically implying like a state that's probably more more Republican, I'll say,
yes.
is where he's from, and he doesn't take too kindly to people like Pimpinela.
We don't take too kindly to your tap around here, like the drunks in South Park.
Yeah, that's what he was implying. I'm not sure how much we needed that, because everyone was pretty much already on board with Pimpinela, and at this point in the show, Havoc is a joke.
Look, this is just cringe commentary, dude. Like, Striker... And he goes on to be so much better in this season, but right here, not good. This definitely didn't age well at all.
This wasn't a good episode, because I have a note later on for something that made me just say out loud, shut up.
Oh, by the way, the finish comes when Pimpinela kisses Son of Havoc. That causes shock and confusion, which leads to a roll-up, and Pimpinela Escarlata wins. That is the, third consecutive loss for Son of Havoc now?
Did he win the tag team with...
Okay, so he beat Sexy... I believe he beat Sexy Star in her debut?
Yes, he did beat her, and I'm not sure if he won in that tag team match afterwards.
They lost the tag match to Chavo and Sexy. After that, he lost to Masquerita, and then he lost here. So yeah, he's lost 3 matches in a row.
Yeah, he's only has 1 win, so he's a joke at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. But folks, it'll come around. Believe me. So after this match, we have a vignette. Johnny Mundo grabbing Dario Cueto by the throat. I don't know if Mundo heard what Cueto said to Big Ryck. I don't know if he had ears in the room, but you would think he would, because he looked like he wanted to kill Dario Cueto.
I think he just wants that money, bro. It's a lot of money. I'd be angry too.
Yeah. No, he literally looked like he was ready to kill him. So Cueto basically begs for his life, says he's like, I can't pay you if you hurt me, but I can get you your 100K. And we all, of course, know where this is going. But Johnny Mundo grabs the key necklace off of Dario Cueto, and Cueto says, "What are you doing?" Mundo says, "Insurance." I was like, that's a nice cheesy little line.
Yeah, how do you know it was that important? What if he's like, what if it's just a regular necklace? He's like, that's fine. I'll get another cool key necklace.
Yeah.
But he called it.
Yeah, It's like you have a 50-50 shot of like taking something sacred off my body right now, being either a watch or a bracelet. If you take the bracelet, it's not going to be that much, but the watch, yeah, I'd probably be very upset with you. But
Yeah.
up next, Famous B was in the ring, and folks, when he like later down the line, you're gonna learn to either love or hate this guy for sure. But tonight, he's basically cannon fodder because up next is Mil Muertes and Katrina. So here's what I wrote down: Mil bullies Famous B, spear flatliner. That's it. What'd you write down? What'd you think of this, man?
I wrote down Famous B and then an arrow pointing to 0% offense.
Nice. Nice. I like it. So again, spear flatliner, that got the win. Famous B was then stood up in full Nelson position by Mil Muertes, and Katrina gave Famous B the lick of death in its name now. That's nice.
Mil seems like he's a very stiff. Like I was watching this match, his strikes look very stiff. Like he's throwing potatoes out there.
It could be. It could also be the fact that they enhance the sound on the show, so it might fool you into thinking he's stiff, possibly.
I'm gonna need you to stop secrets, like showing me how the magic's done. Yeah, because I'm believing this is all real. Next, you're gonna tell me wrestling is predetermined, and I'm just gonna quit the show.
Hey, you can't say that on the air, man. We're a wrestling network. Drago vignette, I wrote down Fear the Dragon. That's the main point of this. Was just, hey, Drago exists. And he's a dragon, as the name suggests.
And he has nunchucks.
He does have nunchucks as well. I don't have to find it on my Facebook, and I'll put it on my Twitter or the show Twitter if more people would follow it at GC_cast. But I have a picture I took with Drago the weekend of WrestleMania 32, actually, at WrestleCon. Spoiler alert, this is 2016. The Pentagon line was way too long. But I really like Drago, too. I do want to clarify that.
Were you taller than him?
Drago, yeah, by a couple inches.
Okay. He seems like he's shorter than usual.
Yeah. I'm also not really a tall guy. Like, I'm like a shoot 5'10". I guess in wrestling, I'd be 6'1".
I think Drago's probably like 5'7", 5'8".
That makes sense. That
I'm
makes
guessing.
sense for sure. No, that sounds right. That really does. So after this vignette, of course, the next match, Drago and King Cuerno. I don't know if he wore it in his first match, but King Cuerno wore the deer headdress here, and that, oh my God, it's lovely. It really is, man. It sets him apart. Yeah, and this match was great. I'm sure he will have another great match this weekend when Santos Escobar faces Isaiah Swerve Scott on TakeOver. Of course, by the time this episode drops, that show will have already happened. But enough about that. So we had a run-in from unidentified Asian woman who, of course, like I said, I already know her name. You already know her name, but we're not going to tell the folks. We're going to let them find it on their own. But she's only there for about 2 minutes, and it's funny to me because she, like, each of the 2 times she's done a run-in here, she has come in a huff, like just scowling, just pissed off, and left in a huff.
She's looking for something, and I'm not sure if she's stuck there and she can't find the exit, or there's only so many places to look, and she keeps ending up in the main stage where the arena is. So I hope she finds what she's looking for soon. Yeah,
that would be nice for sure. She still hasn't found what she's looking for, but no. Hey-o. Call back to the last time these two faced off. Referee Justin Borden is pushed down into Jeff Hardy wheelbarrow position again by King Cuerno. This time, Cuerno eats a tope for it.
He tries to buy some time to recover, and it did seem, at first I was confused as to why he did it, because I feel like he could have just left the ring anyway. Yeah. But maybe I missed something as to why he needed to do that, because it almost triggered a DQ. But I'm sure I just missed why that was needed.
I mean, I must have too. I just thought he was just being a dick, to be honest with you.
Maybe that was it.
So King Cuerno gets the win, and he got the win off of the thrill of the hunt, right?
Yes, he did the Michinoku driver, and I meant to ask you, what's the name of the dive he does? Because he does like I could have sworn it was called arrows something. It's like a shot of the arrow, and he'll start doing some gestures before he does it. But it's like the best dive because it's almost like a spear.
Yeah.
How
So
fast
the
he does
dive
it.
is badass. The dive is badass. I don't know the name, unfortunately. And the gesture you're referring to is also badass because he acts like he's taking some arrows out and shoots them. So that's awesome. That's
It
awesome.
just more to his hunter motif, and he does that before he does the thrill of the hunt, and he wins definitively with this.
Yeah.
What are they, 1-1?
Yes, they are tied 1-1.
I could watch these guys wrestle all the time because I'm not the biggest Drago fan, but he is good.
Oh, absolutely. Drago is good. He's very good. So before the main event, Johnny Mundo actually comes out here, grabs a microphone. He's out here to collect his money. Big Ryck interrupts him. For that, Big Ryck eats a tope. That was just badass. He eats the tope, and Mundo gets back in the ring on the mic, says, blah, 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 give me my money, basically. Conan then interrupts him. And he says, Puma's not your boy. You're not getting your money. If anything, you need to give that money to Puma, blah, blah, blah. And before he can really say anything back to Conan, Big Ryck comes in, starts, beating down on him. I believe the crew comes in, too. And at that point, it's a 3-on-1 situation.
I don't remember the crew. If they were there, they were pretty insignificant after pretty soon.
Yeah. So, and then Prince Puma comes in, directly defying what his advisor said, and helps Johnny Mundo out.
Yeah, it was very confusing
that was great.
They said different things.
Yeah, that was great. I think it's just like Puma kind of got like a punk kid energy to him. He's a little defiant,
Just a little.
But that being said, after they clear out the heels, Puma and Mundo start fighting. So we got a 3-way situation going on. That's when Dario Cueto comes in. He says, hey, Big Ryck, this is Big Ryck's signing bonus here, $100,000. And, Big Ryck, this is his signing bonus, but he didn't read the fine print. So, and this is going to be awesome. It's got to be awesome. Next week, we are having a ladder match with the winner receiving the $100,000 brief. Man, I can't even talk right now. And that involves Big Ryck, Prince Puma, and Johnny Mundo. How hype are you for that match, man?
I'm excited, and I wish that was the main event for this episode. And we were talking about Matt Striker earlier. In this segment, he says, this is dirt sheet quality news. And that's when I wrote down on my notes to just shut up. Yeah,
what the fuck? What does that mean?
I don't know, because that doesn't make any sense. And it's one of those shoots that, I don't need it. It doesn't make any sense. I don't like anytime someone implies.
The show.
Yeah, I don't like anytime they point out that wrestling's fake. Like, I didn't like it when Ronda did it. I don't like it when anybody does it.
No.
Stupid.
No, it is. It is stupid. Because if you point out, like, you wouldn't watch The Walking Dead and then Rick Grimes breaks character and he's not using an American accent anymore. That's not going to happen.
No, it shouldn't. I mean, that'd be terrible.
That would be terrible. I agree. So that segment, I like that segment, even though that striker line, which I didn't pick up, was pretty stupid. And I wanted to talk about the main event, but before we talk about the main event, let's hear a word from our sponsor. Folks, today's episode of the Grave Consequences podcast is brought to you by ProWrestlingTees.com/Social Suplex. Go to that link on your Google machine. Find every bit of Social Suplex Podcast Network swag you could ever dream of. You will not regret making that purchase. And now, let's go to the main event. So time for the main event now. Tonight, it is a mixed tag team match. We've got Pentagon Jr. and Chavo Guerrero Jr. against Sexy Star and Fenix. Here's what I wrote down. This match was slow. It had a slow start. I did like the story beat of Fenix essentially refusing to tag out until he absolutely had to, sort of like being kind of chivalrous. There was one really cool spot that I wrote down. Fenix super kicked Chavo Guerrero into a sunset flip pile driver.
Yes, there was a lot of good double team maneuvers. And like you said, it started off slow until Pentagon and Fenix get the other two out of the ring immediately once they're in the ring together. That was when the match started picking up for me.
Absolutely, man. Pentagon and Fenix, my God, it's like they're brothers or something.
Almost. I mean, they seem to be on the same level a little bit there. And I even wrote down my notes because they were calling Chavo Culero. And I did Google Translate, and that apparently means asshole.
I saw that, yeah. I saw like one of them said diaper, and I'm like, that can't be right. And then I saw asshole was on there. I was like, okay, well that makes sense. That makes sense. So how did they? Okay, because I apparently looked away from my TV screen for the wrong 2 seconds. How exactly did the faces win this one? Do you remember?
Oh crap! I didn't write down the exact move, but
because I thought it was the super kick into the sunset flip pile driver.
It was something similar to that. Now, since I remembered it until you asked me the question, but yeah, Pentagon gets hit into like a sunset driver or a super rana. He gets pinned by Sexy, I believe, right?
Yes, Sexy got the win.
They threw Chavo out of the ring because obviously you want to protect Chavo by sacrificing Pentagon Jr. I mean
that makes perfect sense. Why wouldn't you sacrifice Pentagon Jr.?
Yeah, you can just he's nothing, right? He's not popular with anybody. I mean, at this point,
Chavo's dude.
Yeah,
Pentagon's not even the nephew of Eddie Guerrero. Who cares about him?
You're right. I'm crazy. I mean, that was one of the notes I wrote down. Imagine sacrificing Pentagon to protect Chavo Guerrero. But there was one really cool spot where Sexy Star did like a corkscrew crossbody off the turnbuckle and landed on her feet. But then Fenix did a moonsault version of that. It was like every time she did something cool, he had to do something cooler. So I don't know how chivalrous he was because he kept one-upping her.
Fenix just basically being like, yeah, I'm the real talent on this team.
He is, but I mean, I was impressed.
Yeah, he is. I agree.
I mean, she's pretty. I forgot how good she was. I was remembering her being like decent, but she's pretty good.
She is, but I just hope they don't push her too hard, man.
Yeah, there's some questionable things, but we'll get to that when we get to it.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. So, folks, that's actually the show this week, man. Like that felt like a breeze, didn't it, Greg?
It was because I think neither of us wrote down too many quotes or too many notes for the main event. I mean, the main event was you liked it, right? Or you didn't like it?
It was fine. This is probably the worst main event they've actually put on, in my opinion.
Yeah,
now, that is a high bar.
It's a high bar. 50% it was good, Fenix and Pentagon, and then 50% of it was not main event quality for me, like Chavo and Sexy Star. And it kind of took away from, again, from the last episode, even story-wise, I don't know why Pentagon got involved and helped Chavo. And Fenix makes sense because he's a good guy. He's got to go save the girl. But, yeah, it didn't do anything for me. I was not high up on this main event at all.
No, I agree. So, but I am thinking they're really going to make up for it next week. That 3-way ladder match, even if Big Ryck is a huge guy, that's still going to blow the doors down, bro.
Yeah, it'll be great. I mean, it's the good guy or big guys with high flying guys is always good, like Hardy and Undertaker. I mean, you're fine. It'll be great.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's the show, man. That is the show. So, by the way, guys, always remember, love you for listening.
You forgot one more thing.
What did I forget?
You forgot to rate the show. I mean, that's what you want to do.
Oh, yeah. I'm trying to sign us off. My God, I am all over the place right now. Let's rate the show. Mozzie, what did you rate it this week? 1 to 10.
I gave it a 5.5.
I'm going to go 6.5. And the only reason I was going to go 7 until the main event.
Yeah, I feel, you ever heard the term something's greater than the sum of its parts? I felt like this episode was less than the sum of its parts. Like I look at individual matches and I'm like, I really like that match. But then when I look at the show as a whole, I'm like, meh. It would definitely not be the show I use to try to introduce people to the show.
Oh.
And it's a show, if someone missed it, I would just tell them what happened.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh man, it's definitely not one of those if you're doing a rewatch that you have to see. I'll be completely transparent there, but it wasn't awful. We have not seen a bad episode of Lucha Underground so far.
Yeah,
Not
I mean,
in
if
my
it's
opinion.
bad, I'm going to give it under. My rating is, anything under 5 is bad. 5 is average.
Yeah,
Just slightly better than average to me.
that's fair. That's fair. So, folks, for real this time, thank you for listening. We love you platonically. Don't read too much into it. God bless you. And always remember, we are the true ace of podcasts. Folks, we are not alone here on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. There are plenty of other great shows on here. None as great as ours, of course. But we have on this lineup a bevy of great shows, including 8-Bit Suplex, hosted by Sandy Gaviria and Josh McLaughlin, even though he hates me for some reason. We also have All Things Elite, hosted by Austin S. and my boy, my fellow Okie, Floyd Johnson Jr. Again, that's All Things Elite. That covers AEW, and it does it in a damn good way. We got Get in the Ring, DJ Cooks, great host. Also, he hosts a show called The Great Match Generator, and I believe once or twice you've been on that show, if I'm not mistaken, right, Greg?
I was on the first one.
We've also got Grown Men Watch This Shit. Again, that's James Vanderbeek and Chris Bryan. Two great guys, in my opinion. Another show, New Japan Centric, Keeping It Strong Style, hosted by Jeremy Donovan and the young boy Josh Smith. A couple of great guys, in my opinion. Loads of great people on this network, if you notice the theme. Also, of course, we got the OGs of Social Suplex. We got One Nation Radio, hosted by Rich Latta and James Boyd, every Sunday on the network. We've also got the Ricky and Clive Wrestling Show. Last but not least, I love those guys. They're my homies from Scotland. Ricky, you are one handsome devil, and you guys put on a great podcast. And always remember to listen to the Grave Consequences podcast, or there will be grave consequences.